In Rourkela, it's all about steel, machining steel, welding steel, and moving steel. Located in the Sundargarh district of Orissa is the massive Rourkela steel plant, the powerful engine of growth in this region. Clustering around this giant are a large number of small, medium and micro enterprises. These units can be divided into three categories. Tier 1, each with an annual turnover of more than 50 lakh rupees. Tier 2, with 10 to 50 lakh rupees, and Tier 3, with an annual turnover of less than 10 lakh rupees each. In order to accelerate the growth of this cluster, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, or UNIDO, in partnership with the government of Orissa, initiated a cluster development program. That was in 2005.
The cluster development approach hinges largely on joint action from the producers. See, there are a lot of things in a cluster which individual producers on their own cannot do or cannot handle. The cluster approach trains people, creates platforms and helps them take joint actions towards solving their problems and sometimes exploiting the opportunities that they have.
At the outset, the program carried out a detailed diagnostic study in order to understand the kind of challenges being faced by the cluster. The diagnostic study revealed that the entrepreneurs did not have strong institutions of their own. Moreover, enterprises had weak linkages with the market, and most of the micro enterprises had no access to formal credit. This is a typical Tier 1 machining and fabrication unit. It consumes a lot of welding wire. But of late, the entrepreneur has been able to slash procurement cost of this commodity. What he does is to team up with other fellow entrepreneurs, assess their collective requirements, and then buy in bulk. This gets them better discounts.
We thought if we buy the welding wire through core, clubbing all the requirement becomes huge. And earlier when we were getting a discount of 10 to 12%, now we are able to garner a discount of at least 30 to 35%. So that has reduced on our cost of production like anything.
This collective purchase of raw material has been possible because of CORE. CORE, or Cluster of Rourkela Engineering Enterprises, is an association of 15 Tier 1 enterprises and was formed when the cluster development program started here. However, this group formation was not easy.
Initially, it was very difficult to bring the entrepreneurs under a common platform under the cluster development program, since there was lack of trust among the units and they were competing among themselves and poaching their manpower, and there was conflicts of interest. And so it took me a lot of persuasion and efforts to bring the entrepreneurs under a common platform.
One initiative of the program was particularly useful in getting the entrepreneurs to come together.
One of the first things we did for the Tier 1 units was to organize an exposure visit to the vibrant cluster of engineering and fabrication in Trichy.
We got an opportunity to study the growth of clusters in engineering sector in the city of Trichy. We made a visit and we understood the advantages that they were getting out of being organized into a cluster. So that encouraged us to get united. We were not so united earlier.
Formation of CORE led to several productive initiatives. Buying discounted welding wires of high quality was one. Getting ISO 9000 certification was another.
Rourkela steel plant departments who are ISO 9000 certified, and for supply of spares and equipments to these departments, they wanted the vendors also to be ISO 9000 certified. This is when UNIDO program came into the picture, and they advised us, and especially to all the core members, which was felicitated by UNIDO program, that they will organize a consultant who will come and guide us and advise us as to how to get the ISO 9000 certificate. and that is how all of us got the ISO 9000 certificate, which has really helped us.
As many as 25 enterprises came together and hired a common consultant. This allowed them to share all the expenses involved in getting the certification. Collaboration works. In another initiative, several core members have joined hands and are taking large orders. Jagdeep Channe of Mansarovar Industries is a part of one such group.
After formation of core, we 4 individuals have joined hands together to take up huge projects. Individually, it was not possible for us to take up these kind of projects. Now further, we are increasing our capacity to cater to the sale and many other projects of Vedanta.
Another important core event was a visit to the International Trade Fair in Canton in China.
After we visited Canton, we found a lot of plant and machineries were exhibited there. So many people collected many data, and now they are in the process of procuring those machines from China, which are almost half the cost as they are available in India.
And now, CORE is planning to set up a common facilities center for its members.
Members of CORE has applied for Common Facility Center, and we have got a grant from government.
When we started discussing about our Common Facilities Center in CORE 2 years back, we thought we will probably be able to only organize our carbon dioxide tanks. But over the couple of last 2 years, we have been able to extend the possibilities of using the Common Facility Center for several other processes which can be jointly organized for the members of CORE. Some of the processes are for skill upgradation, for calling guest speakers, for safety training, for setting up a common machining center, for common procurement of hardware.
Clearly, because of the program, there has been a sea change in the mindsets of the entrepreneurs.
CORE has given us a platform to know each other much better than what we used to know them earlier. And now that we know each other so well, the help, whether it is professional or personal, comes through very easily. Suppose I want to use the machine of another CORE member, he welcomes me, he helps me, which was missing earlier.
The diagnostic study had shown that Tier 2 units were handicapped by lots of spare capacity. They were dependent on only a few customers and had a very limited market exposure. Moreover, they were limited by their smallness.
One of the major drawbacks of the micro and small entrepreneurs of Rourkela engineering cluster is the lack of confidence to take up bigger orders individually. UNIDO under the cluster development program facilitated in formation of groups and approached the bigger units for orders.
5 Tier 2 units came together to form the Rourkela Mechanical Consortium. It had a seed capital of 1 lakh rupees.
After that, we have made a planning and programming to make a visit to the big organizations, SEPCO, then Vedanta, then Bhushan Steel Private Limited. After that, after approaching, we have got a very good orders from them. We have executed in a very short periods, and we have got a very good profitability. Even though my personal turnover has gone up more than 200% within a very short period of 1 financial years.
The question remains, why were they not getting such big orders earlier?
Before formation of the consortiums, we are also doing our own individual businesses. We are approaching different organizations in our individual capability, and they are giving less importance to us because they don't know having the confidence among us. When we approach it in a group, automatically they have create a confidence among us and they have placed an orders.
As a result of this initiative, these enterprises now have more work. Capacity is being better utilized and workers are earning more. The story is almost similar with the much smaller Tier 3 units. The problem these enterprises faced was that they were operating largely in the informal economy. For instance, none of the units had sales tax registration numbers. And this is where the cluster development program played a critical hand-holding role. It helped them get in touch with a chartered accountant who they hired on a cost-sharing basis. Sunil Keshri, the chartered accountant, recalls how he helped them.
These micro enterprises had their problems. The large enterprises were reluctant to give them order because they were not registered with the sales tax department. In such circumstances, UNIDO introduced me with these small enterprises and I assisted them the documentation part and to get them registered with the sales tax department.
Ever since then, orders have been coming in regularly.
Cluster development program through re ame first SEPCO golu SEPCO ro seta gote bada company au semane amku introduce program जरिया रे करागला तापरे आसिले आमर फैसिलिटीज देखिले देखि साला परे ट्रायल ऑर्डर देले तापरे रेगुलर ऑर्डर देले।
Another major problem faced by the Tier 3 enterprises was the lack of credit.
No financial institution was coming forward to provide loan to micro enterprises, individual micro enterprises. So we approached a microfinance institution called BISWA and asked them to loan these small micro enterprises. BISWA agreed to finance the small units provided they form into groups of 5 JLG joint liability groups.
Entrepreneurs got together and formed 5-member joint liability groups. Only then were they able to get access to credit.
जिंदगी में हम लोग का लोन नहीं लिए थे और जैसे प्रोग्राम शुरू हुआ हम लोग को 5 आदमी मिलकर एक तो JLG 5 ग्रुप बनाया तो विश्वास से जाकर हम विश्वास से बोले जे हम लोग का JLG 5 ग्रुप बना दे हम लोग को कुछ मदद करिए वो विश्वास हम लोग को 2.5 लाख रुपया मदद किए हैं। इसे हम मशीन लिए एक तो ज़मीन थोड़ा एक्सपेंशन कर रहे हैं हम लोग का फैक्ट्री को एक्सपेंशन कर रहे हैं और हम लोग का प्रोडक्ट भी बढ़ा रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, a larger number of Tier 3 entrepreneurs have come together and formed the Rourkela Technopark Self-Help Cooperative Limited. The organization has allowed members to access more loans from microfinance institutions. As a part of the cluster development program, the Technopark Group has also taken steps to address the shortage of skilled manpower. Young men can now go through a 6-month in-plant training program and then get absorbed in the enterprises. Member entrepreneurs who let their machines be used for training are given 500 rupees per trainee per month.
This in-plant skill development training program is partly funded by UNIDO and is being implemented by Government Industrial Training Institute and Technopark Society.
The cluster development program has also helped entrepreneurs absorb new technologies. For instance, many entrepreneurs have invested in state-of-the-art welding machines.
As part of the program, we organized seminars and demonstrations on new welding technologies and invited sales and service personnel of welding technology and entrepreneurs to the demonstration new welding technologies. Demonstration of new welding technology, most of the entrepreneurs have now adopted the latest welding technology in the cluster.
Introducing new technologies, building institutions, facilitating access to credit, buying consumables in bulk, strengthening market linkages, executing big orders collectively. A unique feature of the cluster development approach is that it deals with the entire value chain. That's because it believes strongly that it is value chains and A unique feature of the cluster development approach is not individual firms that compete in the market. And facilitating positive changes along this chain is an important professional, the cluster development agent.
Agent is a cluster who has been trained extensively in the art and science of cluster development. The agent is able to identify the critical bottlenecks facing the cluster, and then by inducing collaboration between various producers and various other cluster actors, he or she is able to find solutions to those critical bottlenecks.
So what makes for a successful cluster development agent or CDA?
CDA also has to have big ears, somebody who's willing to listen, somebody who's willing to understand the issues, somebody who's willing to go out to doorsteps of the people and pick up the real constraints that they face. Cluster development agent may or may not be a subject expert. For example, in a weaving cluster, it is not essential that the CDA is an expert in weaving or in dyeing. But what a CDA essentially specializes in is the ability to locate solutions and bring those solutions through networking to the cluster.
Interacting constantly with the entrepreneurs and often drawn from the community is the network development agent.
Quite often the clusters that we work in are widely spread, either over few villages or over few industrial areas. In such cases, it's not feasible for a CDA to be in touch with the networks, with the SHGs, with the federations on a day-to-day basis. Quite often, people from the community, boys and girls from the community, are taken in as network development agents who look after these networks, these groups, handhold them in day-to-day decisions and find solutions to critical bottlenecks.
Effective cluster development agents and network development agents can set into motion an important process of change. In Rourkela, for instance, the Rourkela Mechanical Consortium has executed orders worth 27 lakh rupees in less than 3 months. 4 Tier 1 units have received a joint order of 15 crore rupees from NALCO, while 10 Tier 3 units have come together and are executing a 20 lakh Vedanta order. Together and are executing a 20 lakh Vedanta. 3 units, 20 together Tier 1 units have got ISO 9000 certification. Clearly, the seeds of change have been planted.